God looked down from heaven. And what did he see? He looked to see if there were any that did understand and seek God. They are all gone aside. They are altogether become filthy. There is none that doeth good, no, not one. And then that passage is referred to by the Apostle Paul in the Roman letter, chapter 3. There's none that doeth good, no, not one. So, as man begins to think about whether there is a God, there are some that say there is no God, and then man left to himself does not seek God. And then among those who will say, oh, I believe that there is a God. I believe that there is a supreme being. There is a force out there somewhere, or one that becomes a little more definitive. It's a yes, I believe that there is a God on the throne of the universe who rules and reigns, but he is limited. He's limited as to the things that he can do. I've read after individuals who have said there's some things God just can't put together, that's all. He's a loving God, and his love would motivate him to do a lot of wonderful things, but some of it is just beyond his control. It's just impossible. What a distorted view about God. How alarming it would be to think that there is a God on the throne of the universe, but he can't control it. There are things that are beyond his grasp. There are things that are unfolding that are surprising to him. Some deny that God can know what's down the road. They say God is ever learning. He's in the process of becoming something different all the time, because changing times and circumstances and conditions also bring about a change with God. But that's not the God of the Bible. The God that we worship is from everlasting to everlasting. He's always been. Our God does not change. He has perfect knowledge, not only about the present and the past, but about the future as well. Isaiah chapter 44 and the 24th verse. Thus saith the Lord thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am the Lord that maketh all things. Now, if God makes all things, friends, he's not limited. You just look at the earth upon which we live, the complexity of it, the marvel of it. You look into the sky and see the sun and the moon and the stars, and think about the fact that everything moves in precision according as God has arranged it. How can anybody imagine that God is at all limited? He maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. Didn't have any help. Wasn't anyone to assist him. Nobody possibly could have assisted. He didn't need any help. He stretched forth the heavens. He created the earth all by himself. He is not limited in his power. And then chapter 46, Isaiah 46 verse 9, remembering the former things of old, for I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me. Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand. I will do all my pleasure. How much of his pleasure is he going to do? Psalmist said, our God is in the heavens. He hath done whatsoever he hath pleased. If God decrees it, if God determines it, if God orders it, he's going to do it. He's going to accomplish it. Calling a ravenous bird from the east, the man that executeth my counsel from a far country. Yea, I have spoken it. I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it. I will also do it. A language couldn't be more explicit. God says, I have purposed it. I will do it. Nothing is too hard for the Lord. That's a wonderful truth in which we can rejoice today, to see that no matter how entangled our circumstances in life may become, how difficult the way that we're traveling, how chaotic the conditions in the world around us, nothing is beyond God's sovereign control. He rules and reigns. Then someone else in their thinking about God and their expressions about what they are thinking about Him will say, well, I have a little problem. I believe, yes, I certainly believe there is a God. But it just seems to me that God is not fair. I would think that if God has all power and God is a God of love, that He would instantly bring all suffering to an end. Why would God allow innocent people to suffer? Well, you see, there's a flaw with that statement to start with, because there are no innocent people. All having sinned and come short of the glory of God, none are innocent. But the whole issue becomes this: are we, as fallen sinners, little insignificant creatures on this earth? He said that all of the nations are less than a drop of a bucket. Now, where does that put any one of us? Not too big and important, are we? We sometimes may think we are, but rather insignificant in comparison. And who are we, as small as we are, as limited as our thinking is, as impaired as it is by sin, to stand up in the face of God and say, I'd like to give a little counsel about how to run your business. I'm not totally comfortable with the way you're handling things. There are things that I don't understand, and I'd like a further explanation. You know, as much as Job set a beautiful example in the initial stages of his affliction and said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, blessed be the name of the Lord, he later began to question things and said, I'd like to have a little session with God where I could just sit down and lay some things out here and get some answers. I just really like to know. I don't have all the insight I'd like. What's going on here? What's happening? And then God comes on the scene, and for 5 chapters, He doesn't let Job speak. God does all the speaking. And He asks questions like, where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Before the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy. Question after question He proposes. And when God was finished, Job said, I had heard of thee by the hearing of the ear. Now mine eye seeth thee, and therefore I abhor myself. He got a different view. He came to realize, I'm in no position to complain. I can't tell God how to run His business. I certainly was not there when He laid the foundations of the earth. I was not present when the morning stars sang together and the sons of God shouted for joy. I'm one of His creatures. I've got to bow in humble submission. In the 40th chapter of the book of Isaiah, verse 13 says, who hath directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being His counselor hath taught him? Would you dare say that I really believe I'm in a position to teach the Lord a few things? Because I believe that what I would like is superior to the way God is operating at the present time. What pride, what arrogancy to want to approach God and instruct Him. With whom took He counsel, and who instructed him, and taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him knowledge, and showed to him the way of understanding? Nobody gave him understanding, and neither can you. None of us can. To say that God is not fair is just to misunderstand His perfection, His holiness, His sovereignty. That question was raised in the 9th chapter of the book of Romans concerning Pharaoh. It says that God raised Pharaoh up that he might make his power known. He had a purpose in putting Pharaoh where he was, that God might display His power in delivering His people and bring glory to His name. And the objection was anticipated. The Holy Spirit knew how man would respond. And what's man's response? Well, then if that's the case, Pharaoh must not be accountable for his actions. Pharaoh can point his finger at God and said, I couldn't help what I did because you raised me up. He says, no, who are you to reply against God? You are accountable for your actions. Yes, God raised him up, but Pharaoh did exactly what he wanted to do.